No, but yes, maybe that is actually it. If we had a image sequence in the swap, we could composite with that, green or blue, blue screen or green screen. Since neither green or blue are used, there's a little blue tongue here, but it's light blue. If neither of them are the colors that we would use, or a color key, we could possibly just use that particular gray color as the composition, right? Then we could actually change that background to a different color that comes from the swap. All right, so the trick is to provide an alternate image sequence that is going to be the color we actually want to use. Maybe blue, or maybe green. Let's say we want to select, let's right click on the color here on the color wheel. I'm going to select a green color and a pretty dark one at that, there, something like this. And I'm going to erase the whole image to that background, the secondary color. Oh, but that's still, I guess I have this primary color here, so let's erase to primary there. And I want to do that over the entire image sequence, right? So there's a couple of ways to do that. I think there's in fact clear all frames, but it's doing that to white right now, so I need to reverse, I need to switch the primary and secondary color so the erase color is actually green, and now I can clear all frames. All frames are green. I'm going to store that image, right? So well, not just the image, and I need to store the animation. So store to disk. So we have now two animations. We have this one and we have this one. And what we want to do is combine the two. Right now, if we had, let's go to the swap image. If we had this image here, and I'm not blending them, right? I'm looking at just the swap image. Or as I use the S button here, switch back to this image. That's the main image, and this one is in the swap. And I can use the color keys to some color keying. I can use that to identify when I want to not see the green, right? So I'm gonna go here, right click that and select the layer mode, something like green screen, and then enable that, right? So everything that's green is going to be transparent. Well, that's not exactly what I meant, so I need to probably switch the other way. Let's see this, and maybe, well, see, green screen is the problem, is I don't have that green yet. So I need to combine the two based on another key, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go say that I have a green screen that's coming from the stored copy, and that's why we have this option here, use animated as swap image. So I'm going to say this is my swap image, and I'm going to use this, click that to restore that as my main animation. Oh, I'm actually looking at the swap here. Let's change that. Let's go to the main animation, load the main animation, and I'm looking at that. The swap image is going to come from here. It's going to pull it from here as I'm going from one frame to the other, right? As I'm going through this here, it's going to pull the images from that stored copy that I have enabled here. This one here is the one I have currently, the main image. And you know, just to verify that it's really pulling it in, one thing we could do is actually put different images in it. Right, so let me go temporarily mess with this here, just so we have, this is frame number 0 or 1 actually. So I'm actually going to paint that right in here. I'm going to say this is number 1. Oops, hold on, I have a different brush right now. Let's go and use, I don't know, airbrush 50 there. So this is number 1, right? Then I go to the second frame. I want to flag that to really recognize that this is number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on. All right, so if I store this animation, store animation to disk, and then I'm saying I want to use this as animated swap, then I say let's go restore this. So now I have the main animation here. What do I have in the swap? Ah, number 1. Well, if I go to number 2 and number 3, let's say number 2. Yep, sure enough, it pulled number 2 from that stored copy, number 3, and so on. So you see what's happening is that as you scrub through it, or if you have a filter going through the whole animation, it pulls the next frame from the swap image, puts that into my swap, which is not animated, but the animated stored copy here is going to allow me to pull in that swap before the effect is actually applied. So as I'm pulling through here, the swap image is going to come from that. I'm going to make sure it's coming from this one, not from this one. I don't want those 1, 2, 3, 4s in there. I'm going to delete this one actually. I'm going to go just here, use this one as a swap image. So if I'm looking at number 3, it's just plain green, because that's what is in this one here. This one doesn't have the numbers. All right, so now I might be able to pull that trick together here. I have actually the gray here, and I want that to color key into green. All right, so I'm going to go to the filters. I'm going to say composite with swap, and not green or blue, because I don't have green or blue in there. What I want to do is pull the green from the swap into it by indicating wherever is that specific gray. Right, so I pick the gray here, and what it does is it makes that transparent. It pulls the green, it pulls the images from the swap, whatever that is. In this case, it's just plain green. Why? Because I want it. I want that green to come back into my initial, my image sequence. Right, now, but it could be something else. You could have something else in the background there. Right. So now we have that, and we can say, yeah, apply that over the entire sequence. So the entire sequence that you have now pulled the green pixels from the swap, which is moving, animated swap, stored courtesy of this checkbox here. It pulls the green from wherever we have that particular gray in the main. Right? Now I'm looking at what I want. I have now a green screen and the dragon in front of it as a single image sequence. I can store this. This is one definitely worth saving with some green. Green BG, green background, or maybe BG green. BG green. There, something like that. So at this point, I probably only need this one. So I'm going to store that, store this animation, and we'll work with that to turn this into an animated brush, where we can easily identify the green color to be turned transparent in the brush. Right? So first of all, how do we pick this up as a brush? We have a single image option to do that. Right? We can go, we've done this before, we can copy, select it as brush. And then at that point, if we are in the brush tool and enable the preview, we see it right here. But it picked it all. It still has that the green background there too. It's also a little bit transparent. We may need to change the opacity. Now you can see it, but yeah, it's definitely not what we need. We need to clean that background, turn that transparent. We also need to show it full size. Right now the size is reduced. I'm going to go to full size. There it is. It's opaque. I don't want that. How do I turn this transparent? Because it's green now, I can look for that green under the brush transparency options. Right? So you can color key, you can select the color and make that transparent, and boom, there it is. Now that's for a single image. That's for a single image in the brush, a single brush, but you can paint with that, right? Now what I want to do is really do that over the entire sequence. So there's a couple of ways to do that. One is I can pick up the sequence. Let's go and hide this current thing here. In fact, let's store it. Let's store the brush that I had just picked and made transparent. This one is not an animated brush. Show film strip shows that there is only one image in it. Right? There's a long film strip here, but only one frame. It's a single frame brush, single image. Whereas what I'm really looking for is a sequence of images. This entire sequence here needs to go into the custom brush. Now there's two ways to do that, at least two. One is you pick it up. You go with the custom brush pickup tool, and instead of picking it up like this, where it's only picking up that part, let's say here, see it picked up that part, that's the single easy way if you have just one image you want. Let's say you want those hands, you select that, and now you have those hands. But it still presents a problem. You want to do that for the entire image and then the entire image sequence. So what you want to do is essentially use that selection tool and go outside of the window so that you have all of the pixels of it, and then you select your marquee around it. But then when you let go, it stops after it picked up the first image. You don't want that. You want all of the images. So make sure you're on the first image, because it's going to go from wherever your current image is to the end. Right? And if you were not near the end, you wouldn't have picked them all up. What you want to do is go to the first frame in your image, in your sequence there, and then select the custom brush selector tool and click and drag here. And before you let go, press the Alt key. Now, as you press the Alt key and then let go of the mouse, it's going to go through all of the frames of the animation and pick them all up. So now if you store that